Hi everyone, welcome to The Long Game, a heated rivalry podcast. So this is actually part 2 of episode 5. In our previous episode we talked right up until that pool scene in episode 5, and we're going to delve a little bit deeper into the remainder of the episode. I felt this was really important because there is so much to this episode and there is so much to talk about that both Declan and I had like up-teen amounts of notes on this.
100%. Yeah, it was so hard to decide because this is such a densely packed episode. And yeah, we just had to break it up a little bit.
Yeah. And so where we're at the episode is the hotel scene where Shane comes to Ilya's room.
Well, first of all, have you all noticed the complete lack of sex in this hotel visit? There is, because
You're
it's no
right.
longer the main focus of their relationship. That's not the most important thing. And you will notice now throughout the rest of the show that the amount of like upfront sex that you see is massively reduced because it's almost become like a private thing. So it has, because it's become a lot more personal, a lot more emotional, and a lot more serious. Now, what did you think about Shane immediately getting into it with Ilya, the conversation?
So can I add to that before I get into it?
Yeah.
I agree. There's less focus on the sex, but in a way it feels just as intimate, if not more intimate now.
Yes, and I think I felt more voyeuristic in this episode than I did in the ones in which they were just having sex because we get a very emotional moment between Shane and Ilya. Obviously, Shane goes on here, he is all business. Like, he has a new sort of confidence in himself. And I think this is a result of him being able to come out to Rose. He is able to go in here and decide that he wants to start this discussion now. It's time to talk about the feelings. So it is there's no more denying it. There's no more denying this dynamic between them. And Ilya is sort of still in denial mode. Like when Shane brings up the conversation, he's like I can't keep pretending that I don't like you. And Ilya is like, you don't like me. He's like, no, I do. And it's like, oh God, oh God. And I think at this point, Ilya is losing control of the situation. And you can see that in his sort of the following part of the conversation where he talks about his mother, and then he has that emotional breakdown. He starts crying, and it switches then from a sort of an argument and discussion to Shane comforting Ilya in a very vulnerable moment, and that's when it was almost voyeuristic. I'm like, oh, this feels a bit personal. I kind of maybe should give them a bit of privacy in this, and then the camera cuts away. You
Isn't
literally the narrative is that you do as the viewer then let them have privacy then to have that moment you cut away to after they probably already had sex and Shane is getting ready to leave, but the way in which Jacob Tierney decided to frame that whole segment is just it's a great way of showing that they've now transitioned into a different stage in their relationship and that this show is no longer going to be focusing on the sex. It's now going to be the focus on the emotional relationship developing between these two people who are falling in love.
Yeah, and I think it's so interesting that you comment on this voyeurism because we have no problems watching them have sex. We have no problems watching the smutty bits. In fact, we like it. I mean, let's be honest, you know. And maybe we're all just really preconditioned to watching porn. I don't know. But where it becomes really raw and really intimate is where it feels like, oh, this feels a bit it feels intrusive now. And it's almost like we're not allowed to view this aspect of the intimacy where they're getting this.
Mhm.
It's interesting that you talk about sort of Shane's confidence coming into the scene because Ilya doesn't know he's had this whole realization with Rose and this whole conversation rather. And so to him, everything's gravy. Everything's like continue as normal, right? Like repeat, pause, go on. But when Shane enters the room, initially you can see he's stiff Like his hands are in fists. He walks straight in. He sits himself on the bed. And I don't know if you noticed, but Ilya doesn't move towards him. Ilya stays on the opposite side of the room.
Yeah,
He
he's looking
knows
at him like
something's
he's a
up.
dangerous animal, yeah. And he
Something is
asked the
up.
question, "Uh-oh, am I this is going to be trouble?" or something along those lines. He knows exactly that Shane's in here and he sort of means business. He needs to like there's something that he wants to talk about, and it's such a and Shane does it in the only way that Shane can, which is to walk in like a robot and be like, "Right, we're doing this and this is going to happen and we're going to talk about this."
Right? And the way Shane was like, I'm gay. And I love Ilya's reaction to this. I don't know how you felt, but his look was like, no shit. Like, really?
It's so him. It's so him. It's also a way of him showing Shane that like it doesn't matter to me that obviously like I know, but it's also yeah, it's probably not the reaction that Shane was looking to get out of him. He was probably expecting a little bit of he was expecting a little bit of Rose. Elias not
Right?
Rose.
It is the opposite of Rose
Oh,
in some
exactly.
ways. Because you're right, he is probably expecting that sort of warmth and hand holding and it's going to be okay kind of thing. But Ilya's like, yeah, so what? Like, you're gay, whatever. Like, we still fuck. Like, what's the difference?
Yeah.
And that's what he gets in return. But what I really appreciate about this scene is now it's Shane who's being emotionally vulnerable. Whereas in the previous episode we see Ilya rather,
Mhm.
really trying to be vulnerable in his own way, and he gets shot down in a way.
Yeah, yeah. And I think a lot of the hesitation that Ilya has is a result of that sort of shooting down. In which Shane has made him a little jaded now because he opened up before and he got really hurt as a result. And just because Shane's ready now doesn't necessarily mean that Ilya is. Like Shane's caused a little bit of damage here that he needs to fix and he needs to repair it. And thankfully, it does happen. Ilya does then have that moment whenever Shane's being so vulnerable and so open with him, Ilya is finally able to have a moment of like cathartic sadness to share with Shane. And it comes in the form of him talking about his mother, which I thought was a very sweet moment. And it's whenever Shane is like when the tear just starts tracking down his face and Shane notices it, he's like, okay, no, it's okay. Like, this is, I'm here. It's all right. It's fine. I'm here to comfort you. And that for me was like one of the best moments. It was so sweet. It felt like such a reward for everything that they've been going through. This whole subplot in terms of their characters being unable to relate to each other and be able to emote properly. And for Ilya, the one who is seemingly the most stoic out of the two, the one that like pretends he has no feelings at all throughout most of the show, is the one to actually break and the one that needs the comfort and needs the comforting. And it's a little clue into the kind of pain in which Ilya is actually going through. These aspects of Ilya that make him so vulnerable. He's not quite the put together person that you might imagine in this show. You can see that moment of vulnerability between him and Shane. I think it's very important to establish Shane's role in that now. He is the comforter. He's the one that's there for him. He has an understanding of him and is able to, hold him whenever he needs held. And that's a great dynamic to start.
I think you're right. However, where I think I differ is I was a little hesitant when this scene progressed. Because yes, we get this confirmation that Ilya's mother is dead and his father definitely has dementia. He says it out loud. And then, you get this looking away from Ilya. He can't show that side, that vulnerability.
Mhm.
But Shane notices, but then do you notice that Shane straddles him? And I'm like, hang on a minute, where is this gonna go? Because in the previous scene where when they're on the couch in Ilya's apartment and they're having this very tender, sweet moment, Shane then starts caressing Ilya's thigh, and then it ends up becoming sexual. And I was like, please don't do this. He's just said his mother is dead. Do not do that. And I was really worried that it would. And I'm interested in what the choice of that hold is because Ilya sat, being the strong person, And
Mhm.
Shane straddles him, let's be honest, because that's what he does, but he
Yeah.
hugs him, and there is a sense of comfort here. But there's this juxtaposition of the positioning they've chosen to have these two characters in that I'm not sure I'm gelling with. And maybe it's because I don't understand why they've chosen this. But
So
Shane is comforting Ilya, but Ilya is still holding strong.
hmm I got a different read of it. So up until this point, the sex has been used as a distraction from the emotional elements of the story, but it's now being changed. The sex is now an emotional comfort between the two of them. It's now an expression of their love and affection for one another. And it's a way of them expressing how much they care and love each other, which is kind of what sex is supposed to be whenever you're in a long-term relationship. So what does that
I wouldn't
signify?
know.
If in my experience, it's an expression of your love and affection for your partner. And this is the thing. Shane is choosing now to use the sex as a form of comfort for Ilya, which for me signifies that their relationship status has changed a little bit here. This is no longer, he's not doing that for his own pleasure. So he doesn't seem to be doing it as a
Hmm.
distraction. He seems to be using it as a method of comfort. And that, for me, recontextualizes now how sex is viewed in the show, where it's no longer a thing that they do to distract themselves from their feelings and to just get off. It's now an expression of their emotions and feelings towards one another. I think that's the sort of transition that's gone on throughout and this sort of new version of their sort of sex relationship.
I like that you articulate it like that, and I like that we can have differences in this because what you've articulated is when I've seen countless other TV shows and movies where there's a very emotional, heightened scene, and or there's an argument, for example, and then these two characters end up like making out and having sex. I'm like, hang on a minute.
It's supposed to be crying.
Why? Why are you having sex when you were just like having this emotional beat here? And maybe yeah, I can see where you're coming from. I think for me maybe it's a psychology in me. It's just not the way I would embrace somebody when they're being so vulnerable and they've just said something so um, raw. But I can see why, the transition to sex being a comfort rather than um, sort of a satisfying the id from a psychodynamic sort of point of view comes into
Mm.
play here. I still wouldn't have chosen to comfort him like that, though. I'm just going to say.
Yeah, I think it suits them because this is all that they know at this point in time. Like, there will be better tools to use later down the road, but because so much of their relationship has been physical and so much of how they express the way that they communicate a lot is through sex. Like, you think back to the hotel whenever they were having that sort of sub-dom dynamic going on, that again was them communicating back to each other. It is a form of communication for the two of them. And so Shane choosing that moment then to have sex with Ilya to offer him a moment of comfort and a moment of sort of release and emotional catharsis, that seemed to be, for me anyway, a way of Shane expressing his love and care for Ilya, without having to like verbalize it in that sense, because they're still at this point not able to verbalize the love that they have for one another, which we will get to in this episode. But it's appropriate, I think, they that Shane uses this tool that has sort of brought them together in the first place and sort of given it a new purpose, given it a new meaning and a new directive, which is to be a tool of comfort and affection and love, even though they're not willing to use those words yet.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. You talked about Ilya's mum,
Hmm.
and we get confirmation that Ilya's mum is dead. And then in the next scene, we get this very cutaway scene where then we find out Ilya's father has passed away
Yeah.
rather suddenly. Um, I want to hear your thoughts because I have like literally 3 pages of notes on this scene alone. I want to get your impression about how they use this cutaway scene because they don't tell you initially, they just cut away and then we find out through Shane in the locker room kind of thing.
Hmm. Yeah. It's I think it serves two purposes. First of all, it means that as a viewer, you have no idea how Ilya feels at the moment, which adds an element of mystery to it. It adds a bit of, tension to like when we cut back to him, like, oh, what's he going to be like? How is he going to react to this? How is he going to react to Shane? Like, what's going to happen? It opens up a whole load of like things that make you anxious to want to find out what happened. On the other side, it also is a way of establishing how the relationship between Shane and Ilya has changed. All of a sudden, people are saying, "Oh well, he could be sick, he could be fine." She's like, "No, he's not. He's not. No, I know all these things about him. I know exactly where he is. I know what he feels. I know if he's injured or not. I have basically every element of his life down to a T. I know exactly what's going on with him." So clearly, there's now a change in the dynamic where they are a lot closer than they were before, and also the decision to have Shane call him, which is a big
Mm,
change in their dynamic. He calls him, he video calls him. Like that was not something that they previously did. And then curiously, they took it to the scene where um, Shane calls Ilya and it turns into almost like a bit of sexting or yeah. And it's like, hmm, are we going back to this? Is this what's gonna happen? Like, is this thingy? Um, but again, if you take my read of their previous sexual interaction, I think that for Ilya is a form of comfort to have that moment with Shane because he can't physically have him there, and it's a moment of sharing and caring that they've now established. But then because Shane is not there, you can't get the full experience. So then you follow it up with the actual final communication, even though they put another barrier in the form of that communication by having Ilya speaking Russian. Yeah,
and
there's
and
layers. There's so many layers.
yeah, and even before we get to that amazing monologue, even the way, because it's a phone call initially and then it turns into a video call from what I
Hmm.
remember. And even in the phone call, yes, Shane does call Ilya first. And Ilya's very matter of the fact, literally, and I wrote this down. He says, Shane asks, "How are you doing?" He's like, "How's your father, whatever?" And he's like, "Yes, dead." It's very blunt, it's very emotionless. And as somebody who belongs to the Dead Parent Club, unfortunately, I'm really critical of when a TV show or a movie uses a dead parent as a plot device. Um, I think there are lots of shows that do it really wrong and some that have done it very well. But I felt in this moment, I'm like, this isn't what I was expecting. This isn't the reaction I was expecting, especially when Ilya then, sort of morphs the scene into sort of a more sort of sexting video call kind of thing. And I think for me, where shows like, and I don't know if you ever watched The Summer I Turned Pretty. Um,
No, not yet. No,
so that show, I think, does a horrible job at depicting, and spoiler alert, if you haven't watched it, please pause now,
I know
skip the
about that.
next 10, 20 seconds. But that show does a horrible job at depicting grief and death of a parent. And I'm very critical when it comes to this because, yes, I know it's a TV show. I don't expect complete realism, but there's this initial Ilya's reaction is very blunt and I don't get it. And we see it later and I'm like, okay, now I know why we see it later because they're
Mhm.
building up to this and that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah. The read I got from it, and I've had people pass as well in my life. Um, Not a parent, so I can't imagine that must have been very, very hard, very, very tough. I can even imagine what that would feel like. What I could picture is if you are the provider, if you are the one that is the responsible one, and everything is sort of put on your shoulders. In moments of crisis, people turn to you, and you're not allowed to permit yourself that breakdown. So you're not allowed to express that grief yet. You're not allowed to fall apart. You're just not allowed to. It's not the time. You have to keep it together. And if you are a member of a family in which those kind of pressures are put on you, you would be the kind of person that would repress what you're feeling at that moment in time to be practical. And that seems to be what Ilya's done here. He is in full on get things sorted mode. He is all business. He is organizing the funeral. He is organizing all the stuff, the will, like the arrangements for his brother's family. Um, and it's only whenever his brother confronts him that he just can't. The rage just takes him over. He can't. He has to express something, and his brother has just made himself a target very easily. His brother's a dick. In that moment in time, to be
Right.
asking him about, um, uh, like I
The
can
house or the
imagine the
apartment or something.
frustration. Yeah, the apartment. What's going to happen to us now? What? The frustration I would feel that if I was doing all this, setting aside my feelings, my emotions, my grief, all to make just this day work to get it done, and then your useless fucking leech of a brother then coming up to you in the middle of it and complaining that you haven't sorted out my family, you haven't done this, you haven't done that. I would tear heads off. I would lose my shit, and Ilya does. And it's only for the fact that Svetlana steps in and is like, "What are you fucking doing? Why are you? What are you doing here? Like, why are you talking to him like this?" Because she's there with him. She's taking him through it. She is sort of the emotional support that Ilya has while he's in Russia, and he has no one else. And I like that moment of like love that they share between each other. But I think it's very telling that whenever it's done, the funeral's happened, and Ilya steps outside and he calls Shane, and then he lets it go. He lets
Yeah.
the floodgates go.
And even before that point, I think you're right. I think someone's had to do this. You know, Ilya is planning a funeral essentially abroad because he's in the US. And so planning a funeral, organizing everyone, it takes such an emotional toll on you that having to do this whilst you're in transit probably is probably the hardest thing because you're not even connected to people that you can grieve with. You're alone
Mhm.
in your grief.
Yeah,
And there is a period where you're in organizing mode, you're planning the funeral, you're getting people together and all that kind of stuff. And I think you're right. I think Svetlana is the right character to be able to intervene in that altercation between Ilya and his brother, but in a way that supports Ilya and his emotional need then. Because
yeah,
you're right, his brother is a dick.
yeah.
And I think Svetlana does that really carefully. And again, this is where I see these parallels between Rose and Svetlana. They have this emotional intelligence to them that the boys just don't have.
100%.
Mm.
Yeah. And her reaffirming her love for him, like, I love you. That's he needs to hear that from somebody because right now his family don't give it to him. And I
Well,
don't
he
think they
doesn't
ever
have
really did.
family.
Yeah, that's exactly. Like he's essentially disowned his brother. So he
Yeah,
has like he said, I will look after my niece or nephew or whoever it was. That's it.
nice.
Like you can go screw yourself. Like you're dead to me as well. And Svetlana then picking that moment then to say Jane's a lucky girl
Well,
was
actually, and I don't know if this was in
excellently
the
timed.
100% agree, and I don't know whether it was the subtitles on what I watched that said it, but the actual wording is actually, I just hope Jane knows how lucky he is. And I don't know if that was on yours
Uh,
as well.
oh no, I don't
Yeah,
think
so
it
the
was.
yeah, so that's what I got on the Russian to English subtitle switch where I watched it. And so I was like, hang on a minute, do we actually get confirmation that Svetlana knows Jane has
It's
been
Jane. Yeah.
one a man, but then two Shane this whole time?
hmm Well, she's obviously aware that Ilya is bisexual anyway because she knows of the relationship between him and the coach's son that we've seen in the previous episode. But I
Sasha.
like that she is almost saying in that interaction, it's like, I love you and I know you love me, but I think you might feel better talking about this with Jane, i.e. Shane, and see how you feel whenever you speak to them about it. And it's kind of like her being like, I will always be here to comfort you, but I don't think I'm the right person to comfort you at this moment in time. And that's
And
such a beautiful moment.
it is, but this is where, and similar to Rose, this is where my heart breaks for Svetlana. Because she is the one who was, I think they've grown up together. I think they allude that they've
Yeah, I
been
think they're
growing up
childhood
together.
friends. Yeah.
Um, and she is the perfect person to be there at that time for Ilya. But for whatever reason, Ilya doesn't need or want Svetlana right then. He needs Shane.
Hmm.
And as a secondary character who is the right person to do that for him in this time of grief, that broke me. I was like, shit, she knows him so well that she loves him so much that she can step aside and let someone else come in and
Hmm.
be that for him.
Yeah, that's the thing. She loves him so much and knows him so well that she knows that she's not the right person to comfort him. Because
Yeah.
there's more than just the grief of losing his father that he's dealing with. It's also this complicated relationship that he has with Shane. And she has the awareness and the emotional intelligence to figure out that I'm not the right person for this. But also,
Mm.
she's been aware of this for a while. Like, she knows that their dynamic is very easy come, easy go, and that their friendship is honestly the priority in all of this. Um, like you do get those conversations between them, like I'll always love you, but I don't think I'm like the right one for you. That
Mm.
like that's you get sort of hints of conversations like that between the two, where she's quite okay with the fact that there seems to be like somebody else that he sleeps with. Like it's very casual. But their friendship, obviously, that's what she seems to be reaffirming in all this. It's like we may not be romantically together, but I will always love you, as in I will always love you in terms of like a friend or family or whatever way you want to interpret it. But she knows that the type of love and comfort and affection that he needs right now can't come from her.
Or that he wants it from someone else is what I'm getting.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. That's also true. Um. Yeah. Sorry,
Yeah.
Anna. It's just not for you. I'm sure you'll
Not
find
for,
someone extremely good looking and gorgeous to replace Ilya. But for now, you'll just have to tough it up.
yeah. You talked about the monologue, um, Ilya's monologue in the tunnel earlier, and I think I cut you off because I was like, "Wait a minute, we have when I'm not ready.
Too
I'm not
much.
ready to go there yet. Like with this little daddy stuff that we need to get through before we can get to the monologue." And I don't know what your subtitles are like, so I hope mine are accurate. And if they aren't, please let me know if they're not. But I'd like to read the monologue to everyone, and then I'd like to break this down because it's a beautiful piece of writing. So,
Mhm.
obviously, I'm not going to do it in Russian, guys. Like, I'll say it in English,
Come
obviously.
on, like you can do it in Russian.
I mean, if Connor Story can pick up Russian in a week, anyone can, right? So, I know that's a whole different conversation. So, Ilya's monologue in English is, "I never want to come back here again. I fucking hate it here, and they all fucking hate me. I pay for everything. I make sure everyone has clothes they like. I make sure the food is perfect. That father is buried next to his parents. That their tomb is perfect. And the only fucking word I ever hear is, I want more Ilya. I need more Ilya. More, more, more. And I have nothing for these people. I give them everything. But I feel fucking empty. They don't care. They look at me and they see a bank, or an enemy, or I don't even know what. My brother has always hated me, and I know why. But it kills me. And it kills me that he took care of my father and I didn't. But I couldn't. I wasn't here. I still paid for it all, and he will never forgive me for any of it, for existing. It means I have no one now. Well, not no one. I have Svetlana. She loves me, and I love her, but not like fuck me, but not like I love you. That's the worst fucking part of all of this. That all I want is you. It's always you. I'm so in love with you, and I don't know what to do about it.
Shit.
I think give Connor Story all the awards.
Oh,
I
give
know
him
they're not
all the
eligible
Emmys.
for Emmys.
That's
They're not
stupid.
eligible for Emmys, which is a stupid rule. But give him all the awards because the way he delivers that, as a non-Russian speaking person, like
What?
it you right? Like he conveys everything. And even though I was reading the subtitles, I was in it. I felt everything.
Mm. That was so like masterclass in acting. Like the emotion behind his voice, it was breaking at the right moments, and it just tore at the heartstrings. It was, God, it was really, really, really intense and emotional and very overwhelming in a lot of ways. And there's so much in what he says, like, and very, very curiously, you do not get this monologue in the book. You don't get it written down.
Really?
Yeah. So in the book, basically Shane does the same suggestion. Why don't you just speak in Russian and you know, just rant. But you don't actually get to hear what Ilya rants to him about. He just speaks Russian on the phone for however long, and then at the end, Ilya reveals that, you know, he said the words in Russian. I end with, "I'm so in love with you. I don't know what the fuck to do about it." That's the last part you get, his confession of
Interesting.
love. That's the only part that's actually translated. You don't get to hear any of the rest of the monologue. And I'm so fucking glad that Jacob Tierney decided to expand that out, to actually include that as part of the scene. Because what you get in its place is just him bleeding his heart out. And it's so, it feels like we've been building up to this moment of Ilya's true vulnerability, finally letting us get an idea of how he's feeling and how he's thinking and what he is getting out of all this.
And I think you're right. I think that this could only have happened in his native language because, as somebody who speaks two languages, it's or multiple actually. What a flex, right?
Very much.
It's only like three or four. As someone who speaks multiple languages, it's so hard to think in your native language and then have to translate. And there are sometimes no words in the translated language that equate to what you're trying to say. And you can see this frustration in him. And that's where I think, like you said, Shane beautifully just says, say it to me in Russian. I'm not going to understand, but it might make you feel better. And
Yeah.
I think there's this outpouring. And I think for me, I know I was very critical of the way Ilya sort of responded to sort of us finding out his father has died
Hmm.
in the previous episode, in this episode, in the previous in part one. But this is where I was. This is what I was looking for initially from him. It's the whole part where he's like, "It kills me that I didn't take care of my father bit and my brother did." Because as
Yeah.
somebody who lives away from their parents, who isn't there to provide the physical support, that's what sticks with you. That's what's going to haunt him for years to come. The
Yeah.
fact that he wasn't there, the fact that he couldn't be there. Yes, he was working, sure, but the fact that he had this longing, no matter how abusive or critical his father was, he is his father's son at the end of the day.
Hmm. Yeah. They have a very, very complicated dynamic, and that makes it a lot harder.
And I think the thing about grief, and specifically grief over losing a parent, is that it fundamentally changes you at your cellular core. Like there's a shift that happens, and I don't know how to explain it. And if any of you who are listening or watching have lost a parent, I am so sorry that you've had to go through that, but and maybe you can share whether this happened to you, but there is this shift that happens and it changes you fundamentally as a person.
Yeah. I can imagine because so much of who we are as people is tied up in how our parents brought us up and how we've been raised, and so many of our qualities, whether they're good or bad, come directly from them and their influence. And I think there's always a desire to make your parents want to be proud of you, to live up to their expectations and what they want. And to bring it back to Ilya, he never truly felt like he was ever meeting his parents' expectations, at least his father's anyway. We don't know about his mother. And knowing that his father would have went to the grave not being able to be proud of him, holy shit. Like, what would that do to you? as a person. Like that, being completely unable to undo what he perceives to be a mistake is incredibly difficult to deal with. Like massively, massive, just obstacle to overcome in your life. This is it's trauma. So it is. It's something that would stick with you, that would linger with you, and sit in the back of your head. And so when you have all this going on, and a brother as well, his only other family remaining, who is completely unsympathetic towards him, who, as Ilya says, hates him and always has hates him. And I know why he hates me. He hates him because he's bi. He hates him because he's bisexual and that he sleeps with men. And again, that's another fundamental thing that Ilya can never change. He cannot change the relationship with his brother. He cannot change the relationship with his father, and he cannot change the way in which his father's last days were lived, because he had to provide. He had to be the one out there making the money, sending it home, ensuring that they had their comfort, while he had to rely on a brother who hated him and wasn't interested in looking after his father. All while Ilya is dealing with all the emotional turmoil of trying to keep his relationship with Shane secret. Like,
Yeah.
how much more shit do you need to put on somebody's plate? Honestly.
I mean, have you read A Little Life? There's a lot more. Um,
Sorry
I
on
know
my
you have
take.
read A Little Life, so.
I have read a little like.
But I think you're right. And I think, in a way, what death and grief does, it reprioritizes things for you. Things
Mm-hmm.
that weren't important, things that you felt were important become not important, and things that were very important sort of become sort of clearer. And I think that's what we get at the end of this monologue. It's the I love you. It's always been you. I'm so in love with you and I don't know what to do about it. This is that realization of Ilya getting this clarity, I feel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's finally able to voice it. This is the thing. They will always try to put up some sort of barrier to stop these two from actually communicating directly. And it's totally fitting for them because they're both emotionally repressed weirdos. And as a result of that, now they're so unable to communicate. But this is as close as we've ever gotten to them having a real conversation about how they feel about each other. And it's in Russian. And Shane
Right?
doesn't understand it. But
But I
after
think
this,
he does. I think he understands the fundamental sort of what what it is trying to say, because there's this receiving shot of Shane just closing his eyes and absorbing it. And it
hmm
feels like he's literally absorbing it into himself.
yeah, yeah, he definitely is. There is something being received there. The emotion behind it is what Shane is sort of enveloping himself in. And yeah, it's very, very emotionally charged scene. It's beautifully done. It's wonderfully delivered by Connor Story. And I just thought it was one of the best parts of the entire episode and part of the series, to be honest.
I agree. I think this is one of my favorite scenes of the entire series so far. Like
Mhm.
for me, if I was going to show anybody like this is why you should watch it, this is why you should watch this show for me.
Yeah, yeah.
And then it's interesting how following this we get this commentary from the hockey about, Shane having a really tough week or a tough couple of weeks, but that always makes him bounce back harder. So it's like he uses this to push harder, to play better.
That's what he's always done, though. Every time he has a negative experience in his life, it pushes him forward in his hockey. Which goes to show that it's his outlet, it's his way of processing things. And then I love that his match then is against Shane, and they both are absolutely loving playing against each other. You can see the smiles are like splitting their faces. They're just so happy because not only are they going to be hooking up after this, but they also get to play each other because despite everything, they are still rivals. They enjoy the competition, the thrill of challenging one another. And yeah, it's such a brilliant moment that all then comes crashing down whenever Shane gets injured on the ice. And it was like, oh God.
So, as someone who hasn't read the books, when that
Oh,
happened,
can't
I
imagine.
was shook. I was like, what the fuck just happened? I was not expecting that. I mean, you get a bit of why is he looking back like, oh, it seems like a car crash waiting to happen kind of situation. But you do not see the other guy just slam into him.
Yeah, like this is one of the things that I was disappointed with as a book reader is I knew this was happening, so I wasn't going to get the big surprise. And that's a bit shit, but I can imagine that as like a viewer coming into this, not knowing what's going to happen, that must have been like such a shock.
Do you know what this was? This was at the end of Mean Girls when Regina George sort of walks out of the school and then the bus hits her. This is how much that affected me.
I was like, oh my God, what just happened? But it feels like it's a good way of giving these two that final fucking push of being like, oh my
Right.
God, stop doing this. It's time for you to like really start to commit the song here and
So
go for it.
I have a question for you because I've seen from several TikToks, you know, that scene where they're rolling him out of the ice rink
Mhm.
and he says, like, tell him I'm fine, he's going to worry. I've been told that's different from the books. Is that
Yes.
correct?
In the
How is
books,
that
I think
different?
Shane says, Ilya, they can see us. Everyone
Oh.
can see us. Um, which I don't know which I like better. No, I
Well,
think
what,
I do like the book version better, to be honest.
what does the book version serve?
The book version serves as Shane feeling exposed in that moment in time, and it's Shane basically saying to Ilya, everyone can see the worry on your face. They can see how concerned you are. They can see you're freaked out. The way you're looking at me is not the way in which a rival looks at someone else. Like they can see us. They can see what you're like, because he can see the love and the concern and the emotion on Ilya's face. So he's communicating to Ilya, Ilya, like they can see that you're looking at me like that. Like they can see that you love me. And it's that moment where it's like he knows how Ilya feels already, and that for that in the book that is confirmation that Shane understands that Ilya's in love with him.
Yeah.
That for me anyway, that's what I read from it.
See,
Um, but Jacob Cherry does it in a different way, in which Shane gets clobbered. He's concussed. He's fucked basically. He doesn't know whether or not he's going to be able to play again. He doesn't know what state his body's in, and his concern is make sure Ilya knows I'm okay. I don't want him to worry.
and
And it's
I thought, I love that. And I didn't know there was an alternative sort of scenario to that scene.
Mhm.
And to me, what that serves is he cares for Ilya more than he almost cares for himself.
Yeah, yeah.
He's like,
It's
tell
gotten
him
to
I'm
that
going
point.
to be okay. In the same way, I think he says something about his parents. Have you called my parents or something like that? They're on par now. His
Yeah,
parents and
yeah.
Ilya are on par here. And he
Yeah.
doesn't care who's hearing it.
Yeah, because he's that out of it. And lucky enough the paramedic doesn't hear him. He doesn't he's like, no, no, like, yeah, your father's coming as well, thinking that he's yeah, talking
Him.
about the dad rather than him. Yeah. Yeah, I think I can see why Jacob Tierney decided to do that because we have confirmation that Ilya is in love with Shane from the last scene, and this is sort of confirmation that Shane is in love with Ilya in this scene in an indirect way. Whereas in the book, it's more confirmation that Shane understands Ilya's in love with him. Um, which, because we were getting their thought process and stuff like that there through the books, like we understand that these characters are in love with each other before like any of the events surrounding the proof of it occur. So in the TV show, it's good to communicate instead that Shane is in love with Ilya, and this is him admitting it out loud, through this sort of indirect way. So I get why Jacob Tierney decided to change it up a little bit because the audience doesn't fully grasp if Shane is in love with Ilya in the same way that he just confessed his way that he did. So
But
it serves
because
a
then
purpose.
it, yeah, because then it seems one-sided, especially from this heartbreaking, beautiful monologue that we've just heard, right? It feels a bit
Yeah,
selfish or one-sided. It's like, wait, hang on, where's the I love you back bit
yeah,
in
exactly.
indirectly? And that's
And we
what
just got
Jacob
it. Yeah,
does.
yeah, he does
Yeah.
it. So yeah, it's a great scene, and then it's followed up by the hospital scene, which I think is just so funny. It's, I think it's very Hudson Williams, so it is the way in which Shane behaves. I'm like, this is him like sneaking out his actual personality, so it is because he's drugged up and he can behave a bit funny. It's such a good scene, and the will you come to the cottage? Like, you just been waiting for it throughout the entire book and
This
the
has become
entire
a
show. Yeah,
this has become a vocal stim on TikTok. Can I read it out to you because I love it?
over it.
Unless you want to do it, I can't do the intonation, so please don't roast me, internet. But it's a I had a whole plan to ask you something. I was going to ask you, will you come to my cottage this summer? Don't go to Russia. Come to my house. We'll have so much fun. It's so private. No one will know. And he says, Hollander, you know we can't do that. And then Shane says, we could have a week or two. We'll be completely alone together. I can't do but in my head, I was playing that scene in my head. It's
Yeah,
so sweet.
it is so sweet, and it's Shane opening up his world to Ilya. It's inviting him into his most private and personal and intimate space. So it is like this is where Shane goes to be happy, and he's inviting Ilya into it because he is a person who makes him happy. And coming to the cottage, it's like, whoa, he's got 180. Like it's his, it's him
Uh,
finally seeing that we have a possible future here. If Scott Hunter can come out and be an out professional hockey player, we can as well. And Ilya is like, oh my god, this has answered all of our prayers. Like whenever like everything calms down, like we can do that as well. Like we can have that. All we need to do is come out after this. But obviously because of their dynamic, it's a bit more complicated because they're rivals. They've always been opponents and their relationship has been going on for a really, really long time. There's a deception in it that they perceive. Um that complicates things and makes it a lot more difficult.
we had been punched in the gut several times by this point.
Yeah.
There's only so much we can take.
Take any more punishment, it's not fair. So, the ending of the episode, what did you think?
Did you know what? I mean, I professed my love for Scott and Kip and the whole rom-comness of it all in
Hmm.
episode 3. I fucking love a good rom-com. And delivered. This delivered beyond anything that I could have hoped for in episode 5. Because I didn't see this coming.
Yeah, it's such a cathartic moment. It's just so great. It's everything that we've been building up to. This is the whole problem. This is the big issue. You cannot come out if you're in the NHL. Like, it's death to your career. Like, you'll be torn to shreds, and the papers and the fans will be cruel to you, and it just creates this whole mess. You just lose everything. And Scott just, and I love what brings him to the reason why he decides to do it then and there. He wins this cup, and there is no one there. No one is there for him. So he wins, he's looking around himself, and whenever the hype of winning and the all the players start to calm down, and then all their families start to come onto the ice. All the people that love them, the friends, families, all their close ones come out and they start greeting them and hugging them and kissing them. And then you have Scott stood there alone. And then he looks into the crowd and there he is. The one man that he actually cares about, the family that he's always wanted and always craved after, is up there waiting for him. And all he needs to do is have the courage to reach out and invite him down. And he does. And that is just oh,
It is, but can I play on this a little? Because,
go.
and we talked about the unlikability of Scott in episode 3.
We did.
To me, as much as I love this scene, as much as I love this relationship, Scott comes to this realization when he has no one around him again. He wants Kip with him when it serves him. This irritates me to no end. Like, I want this ending, don't get me wrong, I want this ending. But Scott has this realization when he's alone. Really? That's when he's like, oh shit, look, I'm alone. Oh wait, the man I love and, is in the stands.
Mm.
Like, I'm gonna now have the courage to bring him down and profess my love in a very, hang on a minute. Also, I know I'm going off tangent here. He takes that action to profess his love in front of an arena of hockey players and fans and on presumably national television, Kip doesn't really get that much of a choice here. Like,
Hmm.
yes, he's complicit and he goes out to the ice and it's his decision to go down and everything, but as someone who likes to talk a lot, where's the conversation about that beforehand?
I think it's a grand gesture.
I
It's a grand
know.
romantic gesture. It's
I know.
yes, if you read it like that, then it's like, yeah, yeah. I mean, personally, my nightmare, but Kip is a romantic. He has been complaining that he's had to hide himself this entire time, and Scott was ashamed of him, and that he couldn't be out and proud, and he had to be in the closet and hiding. So Scott being like, well, I'll raise that bet. Come down here. We're doing this in front of fucking everybody. So
and
there is no better way of correcting that mistake, I suppose. Like in a sort of storytelling manner than to have him do the complete opposite, the antithesis of all the issues that he had to then just undo it all in this moment. Now, in real life, that would be unfair, but because we're
right,
dealing in fiction, we
this
can we
is
can
the
we can have the moment.
yeah, and I know why we need this moment. We need this moment as a
Hmm.
viewer. I'm not. Oh my god, I'm going to get so much hate from this now. But I think this is the equivalent to that, in a rom com where they're chasing after them, like in My Best Friend's Wedding, or they're running to the airport, like in Friends, before Rachel gets on the plane.
Yeah,
Like this is the moment that we need. This is what we're building to, right? And I think here again it's the women in the show that act as a catalyst that push these men who don't have the communication skills to be able to articulate themselves. Here we see Elena, and I know I say that with a Spanish accent, I'm sorry, not really that sorry, but here we have Elena saying, go,
yeah, go. Look, come on, you have my permission now. Like he's doing exactly what I told him to do.
right?
And it's such a good thing. Like she is like fully on board for this. She's like, "Oh my God, this is so romantic. Go, 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 go. Come on, make this fairy tale happen for me."
And in
And
fact,
it's
did you
typical.
notice,
Yeah, it's just best friend behavior, honestly. It's just so typical.
right? Like you're not even fight or flight. You're in freeze mode. I'm gonna push you, and you need to start moving your feet
Yeah,
towards
yeah,
the
like
ring.
let's go, come on.
Like, and it's such a Capricorn thing. And I don't know if she is a Capricorn, but in my head, she's a Capricorn. She's like, we don't have time to lose. Let's go.
Yeah, let's not
Everyone
mess
is,
about here. Your
you've
moment is
been,
waiting for you. Come on, like
yes. And
ship on.
we've all been waiting for this. And in a way, I love the little nod to episode 3 where Scott sort of circling the ice and he waves at Elena and Kip when they're in the audience. And he
Yeah.
does it like 2 times or maybe 3. He does this again in this episode.
Hmm.
He sort of waves at him, no reaction, then does it again, and then Kip starts to go. I
Yeah.
really like the mirroring of this here. But my question is then, would Scott have come out and declared himself in such a public way had they lost?
A question for
This,
the ages. Sometimes it's
this,
best not to know.
well, this is where I really jar with Scott. I mean,
Hmm.
not the actor Francois is beautiful, oh my god, but
Unfairly so, I think.
right? He's 40 in real life, but he looks like half his age. Like,
He's not
I need
is
his
he?
skincare routine. Yeah, he's 40,
Oh my
I
God.
think. I mean, someone correct me, of course, but he looks ridiculously good regardless of whatever age he is.
Yeah, I don't think it would matter what age it was.
Like, but you're right. This is the payoff we need. This is the moment that we need as a viewer. This is almost the ending to this arc that we need because it gives us that hope. It satisfies us. It gives us this happy ever after ending that we want.
Yeah, and it perfectly sets up the final part of Shane and Ilya's story, where it's like, okay, final barrier is gone. We no longer have an excuse not to be doing this. And then the instant he makes the phone call, it's like, I'm coming to the cottage.
That was my favorite line. That's the most memorable line outside of the monologue. I'm coming to the cottage. And did you hear the remix of that on TikTok? It's
No,
called
not yet, but
Cottage
I imagine it'll
Core.
be on my For You page. pretty
It's
quick.
literally Ilya's voice saying, "I'm coming to the cottage," and it's remixed to like this dubstep beat. It's brilliant. I've actually used it as a sound in my TikTok videos. But
Nice.
what's interesting about that is that they've got this, the way they shoot this is so clever. They've got this sort of circular pan sort of camera around Scott and Kip when they're kissing, right? They also mirror this when they look at Shane's face. Then it cuts to Ilya's face, but it's almost like the camera kept rolling around, so they didn't break the shot in a way. It almost feels
Yeah.
like it's one shot between three different characters, or four technically. Let's
Hmm.
not diminish Kip. Um, so and for me, there's this realization where again, it's the women. It's the women are amazing in the show. Svetlana gets up first. She clocks something's weird. She gets
Yeah.
up and she's like, whatever, whatever, because tells her to get something for the niece or whatever. And she walks off. And then it's Ilya who sits there and he's locked in and he clocks on to what's happening way before Shane does.
Yeah. He he looks a lot less shocked than Shane does. He clocks in. Like he is like, this is it now. Okay. I can't make excuses for this anymore. I'm fucking doing this. I'm taking a chance on this guy. If Scott can have it, I can have it. And that is Ilya. That is purely him. He is now fully committed to this thing. Like he wants to try. He wants to at least give it a go. But he needs to know if Shane is on board, and so he's gonna need to find that out whenever he goes to the cottage.
And I love this ending. I love the really curt cut off where you just
Yeah.
see a from
But
Shane. It's not even a yes.
yeah.
Like we assume he's going. And this whole "I'm coming to the cottage" has taken everyone by storm. Like we're all using this in daily vernacular as if it's something that we do. Like we're all like we're so excited to go to the cottage next week. We're coming to the cottage.
Yeah. It's so good. It's just such a it's now an iconic line, so it is. And it's well deserved. It's excellent finale for the episode and a nice a nice way to take the end of Shane and Ilya's story for now, anyway. And yeah, I'm actually really looking forward to talking about the final episode. I think there's almost like a bit of a come down in it. So there is. It's almost like a oh okay, so we can just sit and relax with these guys now. We can see exactly how this will unfold. So yeah, looking forward to that.
Yeah, I want to see what happens at the cottage. Like,
Anything could
bring it
happen at the
on.
cottage. But with that, we are going to bring this episode to a close. This was packed full of some of the best moments in the entire show, and we had a really great time talking about it. In fact, you couldn't shut us up, so it had to be split into two parts. But anyway, if you guys are enjoying this, if you enjoyed it as much as we did, or you had thoughts on what we discussed, then leave a comment, like it, share it. You know, if you have anyone in your life that's a bit of a heated rivalry fan, don't be afraid to recommend it to them. But yeah, we're really excited and we love doing this episode and we're looking forward to doing episode 6 now. So keep an eye out for that. That'll be really good. And yeah, we'll see you next time.